One of the greatest unsolved mysteries of history is the resting place of the Ark of the Covenant.
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 The Ark of the Covenant.
Most famous beyond the pyramids for the Ark of the Covenant.
Well, it's what started me on this journey.
Yes, you think you know where it is.
The Ark of the Covenant. It is the single most iconic archaeological relic in history, an object of astounding religious significance and, according to legend, unimaginable power.
This is the
New church, King Haile Selassie.
Haile Selassie built this.
And the Ark of the Covenant is behind New church.
Behind this church. It's not this one.
Small chapel.
What you're about to see has never been released to the public. A few months ago, a research team conducted new X-ray scans beneath Jerusalem's Old City.
The site where the Ark of the Covenant was known to have been stored in Israel for 2 decades is about to be excavated for the very first time.
What appeared on their monitors made 3 senior archaeologists leave the room without saying a word. The scan revealed a rectangular object buried 60 feet underground, gold-plated, sealed inside bedrock, sitting in a chamber that doesn't exist on any official map. When the lead imaging specialist saw the density readings, he went pale. Then he said 4 words. Shut this down, now. The object measures exactly 2.5 cubits by 1.5 cubits by 1.5 cubits. Those are the precise dimensions of the Ark of the Covenant given in the book of Exodus.
Remember the golden Ark of the Covenant that held the 2 tablets with the 10 commandments written on them? It disappeared long ago, but today, Chris Mitchell is going to take you on a trek.
For 2,600 years, armies have searched for it. Governments have funded secret expeditions. Men have died trying to find it, and now someone may have finally located it. But here's the problem. Powerful people don't want this information getting out. And what I'm about to show you explains exactly why. Why they're terrified. Before I reveal what else those scans detected, you need to understand why finding this object has made powerful people extremely nervous. The Ark of the Covenant wasn't just some golden box, it was a weapon. And according to every ancient source, anyone who touched it wrong ended up dead. On the surface, the Ark was a gold-plated wooden chest, built to hold the 10 Commandments. But here's the thing, those tablets weren't just laws, they were a contract, a binding agreement between an entire nation and a power they believed controlled the universe. The Ark also contained objects that shouldn't exist. A jar of manna, bread that fell from the sky for 40 years. Aaron's staff, a dead wooden rod that bloomed overnight. But none of that explains the fear. What made the Ark terrifying wasn't what it held. It was what it did to people who got too close. Ancient Hebrew records describe the Ark as a direct interface with something beyond human comprehension. Priests who approached wrong dropped dead instantly. Armies that faced it were annihilated. Cities that captured it were struck by plagues. This wasn't metaphor to the people who witnessed it. This was reality. Which brings us to the most disturbing event in the Ark's history, and the reason those researchers in Jerusalem are so afraid of what they found. The power and the terror. The story of Uzzah proves exactly what this object can do. Picture the scene, a dusty road winding through the hills outside Jerusalem, late afternoon sun casting long shadows. The Ark is being transported on an ox cart, already a violation of sacred protocol that required it be carried on wooden poles by specially chosen priests. Crowds line the route, children perch on walls for a better view. This is a celebration. The Ark is finally coming home after years in foreign territory. Then, one of the oxen stumbles on a stone. The cart lurches hard to the left. The Ark shifts, begins to tip. A man named Uzzah reaches out without thinking. His palm presses against the gold surface. Just a reflex. He wasn't mocking it, he wasn't stealing from it. He was trying to help, trying to keep the most sacred object in existence from crashing into the dirt. The moment his skin made contact, witnesses said his body went rigid, his eyes rolled back. He dropped dead before his knees hit the ground. No wound, no visible cause, no explanation that made sense. Just contact and instant death. The procession stopped, the celebration ended, fear replaced joy, and the message was burned into Israelite memory for generations. This object operates by rules that don't care about human intention. You can mean well and still die. And get this, the Philistines learned the same lesson even harder. When they captured the Ark in battle at Ebenezer, They celebrated for days. They'd seized Israel's greatest weapon. Their God had defeated Israel's God. They placed the ark in the temple of Dagon, their chief deity, as a trophy. Next morning, priests entered the temple and froze. Dagon's massive stone statue lay face down on the floor, positioned as if bowing before the ark. They convinced themselves it was an accident, righted the statue, secured it. Next morning, the statue wasn't just toppled. Its head and hands had broken off, severed cleanly, as if something had struck it with tremendous force in the night. Then the plague started. Tumors spread through Ashdod's population. Rats swarmed from nowhere, destroying grain stores. People died in the streets. The Philistines moved the ark to another city, Gath. Plagues followed. They moved it to Ekron. Same result. Panic gripped the entire region. Within 7 months, Philistine leaders were desperately negotiating to return the ark, loading it with golden offerings shaped like the tumors and rats that had afflicted them. Sympathetic magic, trying to send the curses back with the object that carried them. They placed the ark on a new cart pulled by 2 milk cows who had never been yoked before, cows who had just given birth, whose calves stood crying behind them. And they watched those cows ignore every maternal instinct, walking in a perfectly straight line toward Israelite territory without once looking back. Something was guiding that cart, something that wanted to go home. These weren't metaphors to the people who witnessed them. These were observable events that shaped military strategy and foreign policy for centuries. The ark was not an object you captured, it was a force you survived. So here's the question that haunts every serious researcher. If this object was that dangerous, that powerful, how could it possibly just vanish? If you're as disturbed by this as I was when I first researched it, hit subscribe now, because what comes next changes everything. The vanishing. The ark's disappearance is the greatest cold case in history. One moment, it's the most guarded object on Earth. Next, gone. No trace. No explanation. The last confirmed reference, King Josiah, around 621 BCE. He orders the ark returned to the temple. It still exists. 35 years later, Babylon conquers Jerusalem, burns the temple, loots everything. But here's what haunts researchers. The Babylonians documented their plunder meticulously. Gold vessels, silver implements, every cup cataloged. If they'd captured the legendary ark, they would have paraded it through Babylon as the ultimate trophy. Instead, silence. The ark isn't mentioned once. That silence gave birth to theories spanning continents. But here's what makes these new scans explosive. They suggest the ark never left Jerusalem at all, and they may have pinpointed exactly where it's been hiding for 2,600 years. The underground theory. According to Jewish tradition in the Talmud, King Josiah saw the future. He knew Babylon was coming, so he did something that would remain secret for millennia. Ancient texts describe Josiah ordering the ark, hidden in a chamber beneath the Temple Mount, sealed passageways, false corridors, a maze protecting the most sacred object in existence. Sounds like legend? Except the Temple Mount is genuinely riddled with unexplored spaces. Dr. Shimon Rabinowitz, who spent 30 years mapping beneath Jerusalem, stated, "We've identified at least 40 chambers that have never been excavated. Some show deliberate construction. We don't know what's down there." Here's the problem. Any excavation near the Temple Mount triggers international crisis. 1981, a group tried reaching chambers beneath the Dome of the Rock, nearly started a war. 1996, opening a tourism tunnel killed over 80 people in riots. 2007, a documentary suggesting hidden chambers existed caused diplomatic incidents. Every stone is contested, every centimeter is political. Which is exactly why this new scanning technology changed everything. It sees through rock without disturbing a grain of dust. And here's what the scans found, that nobody expected. What the scans actually show. Let me explain exactly how this works, because understanding it makes the results impossible to dismiss. Muon tomography uses particles from space. Cosmic rays create muons that penetrate solid matter. Dense materials like gold slow them down. Empty spaces let them pass. By measuring this, scientists create 3D images of hidden interiors. This same technology discovered the secret void inside the Great Pyramid, a chamber hidden 4,500 years. Now, a joint research team deployed it beneath Jerusalem in late 2023. For weeks, nothing unusual. Rock formations, natural caves. Then, on one sweep 60 feet below street level, the monitors lit up. A rectangular anomaly, dense edges suggesting gold plating. A hollow interior consistent with wood. Dimensions within centimeters of the Ark's biblical specifications. One technician reportedly said, "That's either the luckiest geological coincidence in history, or we're looking at exactly what we think." The findings were immediately classified. No press release, no academic paper. But word spread. And one source told an independent researcher, "The debate isn't whether it's real. The debate is what happens if we confirm it publicly." Which brings us to the man who claimed he found it 40 years ago and was destroyed for saying so. The outsider. They tried to silence Ron. Wyatt was easy to dismiss, a nurse from Nashville, no archaeology degree, no academic credentials. But Wyatt had something most researchers didn't. He actually went looking. In 1978, Wyatt was walking near a cliff face outside Jerusalem called the Calvary Escarpment, when something happened he could never explain. Picture it. Afternoon sun, ancient stone. Wyatt making casual conversation with a local official. Mid-sentence, his arm moved on its own. His finger pointed at a trash-filled cave. Words came out he didn't plan. That's Jeremiah's grotto. The Ark of the Covenant is in there. Wyatt later insisted. The statement felt involuntary, as if spoken through him. The official's reaction was stranger. Instead of laughing, the man became intensely excited. Offered permits, supplies, full support, on the spot. Wyatt didn't dig immediately. He went home and researched. What he found changed everything. Wyatt's discovery. Wyatt focused on a crucial 35-year window between King Josiah mentioning the Ark in 621 BCE and Jerusalem's destruction in 586 BCE. He noticed what mainstream archaeology overlooked. When Babylonians inventoried temple plunder, the Ark was missing. But so were other critical objects: the altar of incense, the table of showbread, the golden menorah. All vanished simultaneously. To Wyatt, this meant coordinated action. Someone moved the sacred objects together, deliberately, before the siege, through tunnels running beneath the Temple Mount to caves beyond city walls. Beginning in 1979, Wyatt excavated with Israeli permits. What he claimed to find reads like fiction, a tunnel cut through rock, a narrow passage requiring crawling, and finally, a chamber. Inside, Wyatt said he discovered the Ark itself, still intact, covered in animal skins and wooden boards. Alongside it, the altar of incense, the menorah, the table of showbread. But here's what made his claim explosive. On the chamber ceiling, Wyatt described a dark stain. A crack ran upward. When he traced it to the surface, it emerged at a site bearing holes consistent with Roman crucifixion posts. Wyatt believed blood from Christ's crucifixion had dripped through that crack onto the Ark's mercy seat. Mainstream science never verified these claims. Wyatt said his photographs were divinely restricted. He stated angels appeared and instructed him to keep the discovery sealed. He died in 1999 without producing verifiable evidence. For 40 years, that ended the story. An incredible claim, an unprovable testimony. But here's the twist that's forcing researchers to reconsider everything. Vindication? Here's where researchers who dismissed Wyatt for decades are being forced to reconsider. The anomaly detected by the new muon scans sits remarkably close to where Wyatt claimed his chamber existed. The depth matches his descriptions. The dimensions align with his account of the Ark's placement. The location falls within the trajectory he mapped from the surface crucifixion site down through bedrock. Dr. Michael Rood, a biblical researcher who spent years investigating Wyatt's claims, put it bluntly in a recent interview. Either Ron Wyatt made the most accurate geological guess in human history, or he actually saw what he said he saw. There's no middle ground anymore. And get this, Wyatt's other claims keep being validated years after his death. He insisted the real Mount Sinai wasn't in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, but in Saudi Arabia, at a site called Jabal al-Lawz. Mainstream archaeology dismissed this for decades. Then satellite imagery revealed an ancient altar at that. Exact location, boundary markers, burn patterns consistent with the biblical narrative. He identified chariot wheels scattered across the floor of the Red Sea at a specific crossing point. Fantasy, critics said. Then underwater photography confirmed debris fields matching his descriptions. Axle components, wheel remnants, organic material in patterns consistent with a catastrophic event. He described split rocks in the Saudi desert that showed evidence of massive water erosion in a region that hasn't seen rainfall in recorded history. Photographs later confirmed exactly what he described. Was Ron Wyatt a prophet who received divine guidance? Was he a fraud who got impossibly lucky? Or was he an ordinary man who stumbled onto something extraordinary and lacked the academic credentials required to be taken seriously? The archaeological establishment destroyed his reputation while he was alive. They called him a fantasist, a hoaxer, a religious zealot seeing what he wanted to see. But the new scans haven't proven him wrong. If anything, they've made proving him wrong almost impossible. And that's making a lot of credentialed researchers very uncomfortable. The Ethiopian complication. But here's the problem. Jerusalem isn't the only location claiming to hold the Ark. And the competing theory comes with its own disturbing evidence. According to Ethiopian tradition preserved in the Kebra Nagast, the Ark was removed from Jerusalem centuries before Babylon ever threatened. Carried across the Red Sea by Menelik, the son of King Solomon and the legendary Queen of Sheba. The story describes young Menelik traveling to Jerusalem to meet his father. Solomon recognizes him immediately. The resemblance is unmistakable. He welcomes his son to court, teaches him, prepares him to return to Ethiopia as a king. But Menelik doesn't leave empty-handed. According to Ethiopian tradition, he departs with the Ark itself. Some versions say Solomon gave it willingly, trusting his son to protect it. Others say the removal was divinely orchestrated, that God wanted the Ark in Ethiopia, and human will was simply a vessel for that purpose. The Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Axum, a small city in northern Ethiopia, claims to hold the original Ark to this day. And here's what makes skeptics pause. Their security measures suggest absolute conviction. A single guardian monk is appointed to watch over the Ark for life. He enters the chapel as a relatively young man. He never leaves the compound again. He never speaks publicly about what he guards. He eats alone. He prays alone. When he dies, sometimes decades later, another monk is immediately appointed to take his place. No outsider has been allowed inside. Not journalists, not researchers, not heads of state. No photographs exist of the interior. No scientific testing has ever been permitted. The walls of the chapel are ordinary stone. The roof is corrugated metal. There's nothing physically impressive about the illegal structure. Yet armed guards patrol 24 hours a day. Ethiopian soldiers treat approaches to the building as potential threats. When researchers ask why independent verification is impossible, the response never varies. The Ark's power makes public exposure dangerous. Unprepared witnesses could die. The same lethality described in ancient Hebrew texts applies today. Convenient excuse or acknowledgement that whatever sits inside that chapel remains as dangerous as it was 3,000 years ago? Every Ethiopian Orthodox church, thousands of them, contains a tablet, a sacred replica of the Ark kept in the innermost sanctuary. During the Timkat festival, these replicas are paraded through streets and ceremonies directly echoing biblical descriptions of how the original was carried. Millions participate. An entire nation's religious identity rests on an object they possess but will never show. Either it's the longest-running deception in religious history, or Ethiopia has been guarding something genuinely extraordinary for 3 millennia, which brings us to one final piece of evidence that refuses to go away: the Copper Scroll. One more piece of evidence, something discovered in the desert that reads like a treasure map. Among the Dead Sea Scrolls, one artifact stood apart. Not parchment, not papyrus. Etched into copper. The Copper Scroll lists 64 locations: gold, silver. Sacred objects hidden throughout the wilderness. Many scholars believe these were concealed before Jerusalem's destruction. The exact window when the Ark vanished. Certain passages reference locations near the Jordan River. Some researchers interpret these as pointing toward a great sacred object, distinct from other treasures mentioned. If the Copper Scroll is an ancient map, one destination may be the Ark itself. But directions are maddeningly vague. Landmarks may not exist anymore. Either the map is symbolic, the treasures moved, or someone's making sure they're never found. The dangerous truth. So here's where we stand. New scans detected an anomaly matching the Ark's dimensions beneath Jerusalem. Ron Wyatt, dismissed for 40 years, claimed to find a chamber in the same area. Ethiopia guards what they claim is the original. The Copper Scroll hints at wilderness hiding places. So, why isn't this everywhere? Here's the uncomfortable answer. Confirming the Ark would be the most destabilizing discovery in history. Think about ownership claims. Israel, Palestine, Ethiopia, the Vatican. The Temple Mount is already the most contested real estate on Earth. Jews, Christians, and Muslims all consider it sacred. Now, imagine announcing a weapon that ancient texts say could level armies has been found directly beneath it. Wars have started over less. One anonymous source, the question isn't whether it's real. It's what happens to the world if we confirm it. So, what are we left with? Classified scans showing an anomaly that shouldn't exist. Ancient texts describing exactly where to find it. A man who died insisting he touched it. A nation guarding what they claim is the original behind locked doors and lifelong vows of silence. A copper treasure map that may point to wilderness hiding places. And an archaeological establishment that seems very, very determined to keep this conversation from reaching critical mass. Here's the most unsettling possibility of all. What if the Ark has already been found? What if governments, religious institutions, and intelligence agencies have known for decades exactly where it is? What if the decision was made, quietly, at levels most of us don't know exist, that humanity simply isn't ready to know the truth? Not because the evidence is weak, because the consequences of going public are completely uncontrollable. Think about it. The Ark of the Covenant was never just an artifact. According to every ancient source, it was a weapon that killed on contact, a communications device that delivered instructions from somewhere beyond human understanding, a physical anchor point connecting this world to something else entirely. If it still exists, if it's still down there, sealed in stone, waiting in the darkness exactly where ancient priests hid it, then everything we think we know about ancient history, about the supernatural, about the fundamental nature of reality itself, is incomplete. Maybe that's why it's been hidden for 2,600 years. Maybe that's why it's still hidden now. And maybe, just maybe, there's a reason it was never meant to be found by people like us. At least, not yet. If this changed how you see history's greatest mystery, hit subscribe right now. We're investigating more discoveries that powerful institutions don't want you to know about. Next week, what NASA's classified ground-penetrating scans found beneath the Giza Plateau, and why they've never explained it publicly. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. This is just the beginning.